Shri Chaitanya Abhinamyena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamahyam Dadati Suptantikam Vandekam Shri Gurum Shri Damatakalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamcha Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sargara Raghunathanitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parishanisektam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sargana Lalita Shri Vishaka Tamsya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuke Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupishcha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevya Bhavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a very means of conquest, which I offer my respectful obeisance unto the personality God Narayana, unto Narayana, supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasdeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes and the Bhagavatam, by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality God who is praised with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yonta Pravishya Mamamacha Imam Prasupta Sanjeevayati Akila Shakti Daraswadamna Anyam Saharsha Janashavanatogadi Prana Namo Bhagavate Mushaya Tubyam Tasmadakam Mikida Viklavagishwarasya Sarvatmana Maignani Damanisham Nicho Jaya Gunamisarga Anupravishta Uyeti Yena Gipuman Manditena Krishna Saraswati Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from third canto, 20, chapter 15th verse. Matha Dvire Pakalaya Paritam Vanamalaya Paradhya Aravalaya Sri Kiritangadanupuram Matta Dvirepakalaya Paritam Manamalaya Paradhyahara Valaya Kiritangadanupuram. Word to word. Mattaha, intoxicated. Divirepaha, with bees. Kalayaha, humming. Paritam, garlanded. Manamalaya, with the garland of forest flowers. Paradhya, priceless. Hara, pearl necklace. Valaya, bracelets. Valaya, bracelets. Kirita, crown. Angada, armlets. Nuppuram, anklets. Translation and purport by His Band Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He also wears around his neck a neck garland of attractive Sylvian flowers, and a one of swarm of bees intoxicated by the delicious fragrance hums about the garland. His father is superbly adorned with pearl necklace and crown and pairs of armlets, bracelets, and anklets. Purport. Please hear. So from this description, it appears that the flower garland of the Supreme Personality Godhead is fresh. Actually, in Vaikuntha, the spiritual guide, there is nothing but freshness. Even the flowers picked from the trees and plants remain fresh. For everything, the spiritual guide retains originality and does not fade. The fragrance of the flowers picked from the trees and made into garlands does not fade. For both the trees and the garland, flowers are spiritual. When the flower is taken from the tree, it remains the same. It does not lose its aroma. The bees are equally attracted to the flowers, whether they are on the garland or on the trees. The significance of the spirituality is that everything is eternal and inexhaustible. Everything taken from everything remains everything. Or has been stated in the spiritual world, 1 minus 1 equals 1, and 1 plus 1 equals 1. The bees hum around the flesh flowers. The sweet sound is enjoyed by the Lord. The Lord bangles, necklace, crown, and anklets are all bedecked with invaluable jewels. Since the jewels and pearls are spiritual, there is no material calculation of their value. Okay. Prabhupada ki jai. Text 16. Let us go to text 16. Kanchi gal Punalocha Shronim Hridayamboja Vistaram Darshanaitamam Santam Manonayana Vardhanam Kanchi Gunolosot Shronim Hridayamboja Vistaram Darshanaitamam Santam Manonayana Vardhanam. Kanchi, girdle, guna, quality, ullasat, brilliant, shronim, his loins and hips, hridaya, heart, amboja, lotus, vistaram, seat, darshaniya, tamam, most charming to look at, shantam, serene, manaha, minds and arts, nayana, eyes, vardhanam, gladdening. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His loins and hips encircled by a girdle, he stands on the lotus of his lotus devotee's heart. He is the most charming to look at, and a serene aspect gladdens the eyes and souls of the devotees who behold him. Purport. The word darshaniya tamam, which is used in verse, means the Lord is so beautiful that devotee yogi does not wish to see anything else. His desire to see beautiful objects is completely satisfied by the sight of the Lord. The material world may want to see beauty, but the desire is never satisfied. Because of the material contamination, all the propensities we feel in the material world are ever unsatisfied. But when you desire to see, hear, touch, etc., or dovetail for the satisfaction of Supreme Personality Godhead, we are on the level of the topmost perfection. Although the Supreme Personality Godhead in his eternal form is so beautiful and pleasing to the heart of the devotee, he does not attract the impersonalists who want to meditate on his impersonal aspect. Such impersonal meditation is simply fruitless labor. Actual yogis, with half-closed eyes, fixed on the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are not upon anything void or impersonal. Thank you. Anybody can recite the verse a few times? 15 and 16, please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Mattadirev kalaya puritam vanamalaya parardhahar valaya kiritangadanupuram.
Hare Krishna. Bhattvadirepakalaya paritam vanamalaya parardhyaharvalaya kiritangadanupuram. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, धन्यवाद प्रणाम. मत्तदिरेफकलया परितम्बनमालया परार्धहर हरवलया किरीटंगदार निपुरम. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Kanchi gunolatakshyonim hridayambuja vistaram darshaniyatamam shantam manonayana vardhanam.
Hare Krishna. Panchi gunollasakshronim hridayamboja vistaram darsaniyatamam santam manonayana vardhanam. Hare Krishna.
Kanchi gunolashronim Hudayambhoja Vistaram Darshanyatamam Santam Manonayana Vardhanam. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So, background of the verse is very important. So, some new devotees are there from Chennai also. So, for that reasons, I will just explain the background. The background of the verse is that the discussion is going on between Kardama Muni and Devahuti Mata and her son, Lord Kapila. And this is about Sankhya philosophy from 25th chapter, 25th, 26th, 27th. So 25th chapter is talks about devotional service. And then 26th chapter, it talks about uh, material nature. And then 27th chapter, understanding material nature. And then 28th chapter talks about explanation of devotional service. And 29th chapter is going to talk about further explanation of the devotional service. So here, in 27th chapter, Devati Mata asks a very pertinent question in 17, 18, 19, and 20 verse. She says, material nature ever release this conditioned soul? So really, she is very compassionate in asking this question. She says that material nature will ever release this conditioned soul. She is being put, the living entity is putting in this material world, will ever get released. Since one is attracted eternally, how is separation possible? We are attracted to the material nature, and material nature is attracted to us. So it's like husband, wife, how we can be separated? Cannot be separated. So she asked a very good question. Since one is attracted to another eternally, how it is separation is possible? So it's a wonderful question. And then second question says, there is no separate existence of the earth and aroma of water, and it stays, there cannot be any separate existence of intelligence and consciousness. So she's saying that since we are so much bound, our intelligent consciousness doesn't work at all. That means we are working on the mind. So that's the question she asks. Even though he is a passive performer of all activities, how can there be freedom for the soul as long as the material nature acts on him? So he is a passive person. Actually, the soul is passive, actually, but he is bound because of the material nature. The third question she asks. And the fourth question asks, even if the great freedom of bondage avoided by mental speculation, suppose we are able to get relief, it will still appear again. That's what it says. So we are so much attached. Completely we are attached with this body, for a time immemorial. Anything happens to our family or anything happens to us, which even 23 years, 30 years, Krishna consciousness, doesn't matter. We get affected. Mentally, we get affected. That is natural. So because we are bound, that's what she's saying. She's asking the question. And then 21 onwards, Krishna explains that Animitta Nimittena Swadarme Amalatmana Tivramai Bhakti, how we have to do Tivra Bhakti to get out of this, this conception of material concept of life. And he's explaining very nicely. So 21 to 29, he explains nicely how the devotee should get the consciousness that becomes free from conditioning. He is giving the ways, And then in 30 onwards, he started giving description of the yogi, how to meditate on Krishna. So the material nature is attractive. So Kapila Muni is very, very, very intelligent. He says, okay, we have to do all these things. We have to do Tivra Bhakti and all. And then how to do Tivra Bhakti? So that is what is the question asked. It's internally linked to that. So immediately, Kapila Muni says, don't worry, I'm going to explain how a yogi can concentrate on the Lord. And that's what he's going to explain in the 28th chapter. So the 28th chapter starts with basically to develop good qualities. Basically various qualities, good qualities to be developed. How to control the mind and senses, how to control your tongue, how to be silent, how to be various qualities are mentioned. The qualities, the 26 qualities is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, same like that. How a Vaishnava should develop these qualities. So that is discussing in detail by Kapila Muni from 1 to 5. He is saying that these qualities, good qualities to practice yoga. So before practicing yoga also, dhyana yoga, you have to develop some good qualities. Because without developing good qualities, and that's why our Maharaj always says, Bhagavatam is equal to behavior. First behavior, then comes everything else, So the qualities we have to develop. And we have to work on these qualities. And it is very, very important, And the 6th verse to 12th verse talks about the very yogic process, how to concentrate on the mind. And now, from 13 onwards, from verse 13 onwards, he is going to explain how to concentrate the mind, how the yogi is to concentrate the mind. First, you have to develop the good qualities, and then he is explaining the process, and then during the process, he wants to know whom to concentrate. Okay, you have to do yogic exercise, you have to meditate on Krishna, how to meditate. So, then now he's going to describe the form of the Lord, the transcendental form of the Lord, transcendental ornaments of the Lord, the transcendental names of the Lord. Everything is going to describe. So that you can concentrate in any of this because all are absolute. That's why Prabhupada says 1 minus 1 is equal to 1, 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. So if you concentrate on anything, doesn't matter. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, any part of the devotional service. Whatever service you do, it is absolute on the transcendental plane. It doesn't mean that a person who is preaching in Krishna consciousness will go back to Krishna and the person who is listening will not go. No, it doesn't matter. How sincere you are, that is going to be the determination for us to enter into the spiritual realm or going into the goal of Buddha. So that is the main criteria. There is no other criteria. But Krishna sees how sincere you are, nothing else. He says whether this living entity is really interested in me or not. That's what he's looking. He's not looking into that whether you are cleaning the vessels, pots in the in the kitchen, doesn't matter. Anything, any service is absolute. The devotion service is absolute. That's what we have to understand. And then that's why there's a person who is doing the devotion service in the kitchen is lower than the person who is preaching Krishna consciousness or who is controlling, who is the leader. Not like that. Not like that. So Krishna sees how sincere you are in the devotion service. That's all. Doesn't matter. Whatever position you are, you should do it with the sincerity. And that's what Krishna sees. So now we have to concentrate on the forms of the Lord. So the Lord is absolute, and how to concentrate on the Lord. And that's what he is going to explain from 13 onwards. 13, 14, 15, 16, he's going to explain. And then we are going to give big 3, 28, 21 onwards. Beautiful description of the Lord. Every part of the anga of the Lord are nicely described. I think 21 to 34 or 33 is describing every part of the Lord, anga. I think the Matajis were very fortunate to have this class from Vaijayanti. She took the class, I think, last year, 2021. So she covered all those. So beautiful description of the Lord, which is wonderfully described. So, and this is basically, these chapters are very much required for us to concentrate. So even though you want to concentrate the holy name, suppose you think about the ornament of the Lord, also that is absolute. Suppose you think the Vanamala. Now this verse talks about Vanamala, forest flowers. You think about the bees. You are absolute. You are remembering the bees. That means you are remembering Krishna. So all are absolute. So humming bees, which is hovering around the Vanamala of Krishna, they are also absolute because they are on the spiritual world. They are attractive. So that's why it gives fragrance, Vanamala. So this is what we have to understand from the pages of the Bhagavad. So 15 and 16 is the description of the Lord. And frankly speaking, I'm not a good in the description, especially transcendental form of the Lord. I am not very good at that because it is a weakness area for me. So I may not be able to explain very nicely, but I will try. Whatever little knowledge I have, I will share with you. Because I don't have good grabbing on this. Because I don't know what is the transcendental form of the Lord. I have not realized in my life. So it is very difficult for me to explain unless you experience. You have to experience Krishna in our lives. We have to experience the deity decoration. And there are so many experts, deity decorators are there. So they are observed like Abir Kanya Mataji, Champakalata Mataji, and Radhacharan Mataji, Bhagavati Priya Mataji, the super expert Hema Mataji. All our experts are there who have the love towards Krishna to decorate. So they can know the form of the Lord wonderfully rather than because they are expert with that. So we have to understand that the 15th verse talks about wonderful garland of Vanamala. Vanamala means forest flowers. So it is very important. So Vanamala, from this, what we have to understand is Krishna doesn't hanker for the best of the flowers. Any flower from the forest, he will put it. Karnikarni, he puts in this ear also. He puts Vanamala in the ear also. Some flowers in his ears also. So he doesn't discriminate. And that's what we have to understand. Forest flowers. He's not looking for the best lotus. He's not looking for anything. No. Please, there is no discrimination. Krishna, suppose if you cannot afford lotus, please put rose. If you cannot afford rose, we have samandi. If you cannot afford jasmine, doesn't matter. Whatever little flowers you can put, Krishna will accept it. Even if you're not able to smell, Krishna doesn't matter. Because Krishna is very simple. Krishna is completely, absolutely simple. Flute is there, Vanamala is there, he is ready. He is not looking after everything. But no, we are complicated. Krishna is simple. Krishna is simple means the devotee should also be simple. And this is the very nature. So and Krishna is not hankering for any jewelry or anything on his shoulder. So I have to wear so many jewelries, at least 20 sovereigns, 30 sovereigns. He's not hankering for it. Because he's very simple. But it doesn't mean that we should not wear during the marriage. It is proper rights in the various purports of the Bhagavatam that we can wear jewelry during the marriage ceremony. It is very auspicious. So Prabhupada never condemns that. but we should not be hankering for it. If you don't have, please don't hanker for it. Whatever you have, be satisfied. So and then Maharaj says simple means you should be simple and straightforward. So that means if you are simple, we can live in any condition of life. I'm so complicated, I cannot live in Chennai. I want to live only in Abu Dhabi because I'm so complicated. The moment we are complicated, we cannot live. We cannot live everywhere. It's very difficult, you know. Recently, we were going to Trichy, Srirangam, we had the darshan of the Lord. At the time, our son was telling, let us go in the bus. I said, bus? I cannot imagine traveling local bus. I have not traveled for the last 23 years. It was hot, very hot. Traveling was hell for me. I said, no, I will pay money and go. Because we are not simple. We are not able to. And so many people are traveling by walk, by buses only. Very difficult. Because we are not used to it. We have become complicated. I have become complicated. I'm not telling you. I have become complicated. So we have to become simple as far as possible. And that's what, if we are simple, we can live in any condition of life. You know, but we are extravagant, it's very difficult, you know. So it is very difficult, you know? So this is because we have lost, we have to be simple. Simple means anything is okay for us, you know. Simple. Krishna is simple. He just put the water, he accepts it. But only thing is ingredient is love. The love is, and that's why there is one Brahmana who offered, sweet rice in the mind, and he burnt his hand. You know that. So just by that, he is, because his mind was absorbed, and that's what we know. Mano Hridaya Vadanam. What is that? This verse. Mano Nayana Vardhanam. Vardhanam means gladdening. So he was completely absorbed in. So simplicity, and that's why Krishna emphasizes in the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter. Arjavam is one of the qualities. Simplicity. So simple, you know. This Rupa Goswamis, they were very simple. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they just threw away all the money, you know. So just to wear a kaupina, they were wearing an upper garment and lower garment. What is that? Shat Goswami Ashtagam. What is that? Tektva tu namashesha mandalapati shrenim sada tuchavat. Tektva means give up. Tektva tu nam ashesha. Ashesha means unlimited. Tektva tu namashesha mandalapati. One was a finance minister, one was a home minister. Can you imagine how much? Now the home ministers are making billions of dollars into their bank account, Swedish bank account. And the Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, this Hussain Shah was so much attached to them. The Brahmanas were so sincere. So he gave them full power. Ashesha Mandalapati, unlimited power given to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Tyaktva tu namashesha mandalapati shrenim sada tuchavat. Shrenim sada tuchavat. Tuchavat, they just put that and then they give. So this is because they know they have to give the sacrifice for the life for the sake of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because they were dedicated disciples of Chaitanya. So it doesn't mean that we should leave away everything now. It doesn't mean that. I will say, well, I'm not saying. The point is very simple, that we have to become simple. We have to become, means that we should be ready to be there in any position. So unless we are mentally trained, you know, to be simple, it's very difficult to sustain in this material world. Okay, so this is very important for us to understand. So we complicate our devotional service, then we complicate. We cannot be peaceful. So that's the main thing. No, we have to be peaceful, and Krishna is very peaceful. No, Krishna is Karnikara flowers. If they give, okay. They don't give, okay. And then Hiranyaksha chastises him like anything. You are a fool. You are a monkey. You are a demon. You are amphibian. You are. He condemns. It doesn't matter to me, because he's very simple. Nothing goes into his heart. Krishna. So he udasina vadasi. He is completely detached. So this is the quality of Krishna, and therefore he is very simple. And therefore Krishna is simple. We have to be simple. Doesn't mean that Prabhupada never says that. That's why what you can say, Prabhu, you are contradicting how the temples are gorgeously maintaining. That is required. We are going to discuss that point also. Gorgeously maintained, because to attract the burning attention of the non-devotees. Prabhupada writes, I think in the purport of first canto, 8th chapter, 22nd. We will discuss this at the end of the verse, in the second verse, and Mano Hridaya Vardhanam. We will discuss that. So it is very important that we have to become simple, and that is very important, you know. And our Maharaj is so simple, so simple. One time I remember Purna Prabhu was sharing in Chennai that Maharaj one kurta was torn. And Prabhu said, Maharaj will buy the kurta in the same quality, whatever you want, and we can stitch it. And we have the tailor who can stitch it. Maharaj said, no, you just stitch this torn cloth, that is enough, I will maintain it. So oddly too, his baggage was very simple, baggage was less. And that's why when you carry the baggage less, then it is easy to travel. And that's why Maharaj says that we should develop waiting room conscious, just like when you go in the train. So when you carry 23 bags, I remember in 1991, I think, after marriage, I was going from here to Delhi. I was working in Delhi. So at the time we were going, and I remember my father and everybody packed. There were about 61 items. So we were only concentrating on 61 items how to carry in the train, So it was a tremendous task. So because when you carry heavy luggage, it is very difficult to travel. So minimum baggage is good. And therefore, minimum baggage with the life, material life also, minimum baggage you have, it is easy to travel. So that's why when we travel from one body to another body also, then our minimum baggage is there, then we will not be attached. Our attachment will be lesser. That's what we should try in this direction. So this is in simplicity. This is what we have to understand. So the Prabhupada, this is what we understand, the simplicity. So very, very important. So Maharaj was very simple. He was having 2 or 3 kurtas, that's all. With that, he was traveling all over the world. And he used to wash his own clothes, That is really exemplary. Now, without because we were in Abu Dhabi, we were using washing machine. We came to Chennai. We were using washing machine. Without washing machine, we cannot survive. That we have become so much handicapped. And the machine goes out of wire, then we are completely disturbed. Our chanting, our devotion service, everything is disturbed. So we have become so much conditioned. And that's why Devati Mata says somewhere in the Satyuga, she says that condition, how the condition. Now, how much we are conditioned. If the milk doesn't come in the morning, we become tensed. If the paper follower doesn't come, we become tensed. If the Wi-Fi goes, yesterday Wi-Fi went for 2 minutes, we become so much disturbed because of the Wi-Fi connection gone. Because we're so much conditioned by all these conditions. We are not simple. And in the name of modernity, I'm generally telling, the name of technology and all, we have become more bound, more than anything else. Without Wi-Fi, we cannot go out. Without mobile, we cannot survive now. Okay, and so our jiva soul is not important as our mobile. Like even if you go away from this planet, no problem. Your mobile is more important to your wife. So that has become, we have become so much conditioned with the material things, So that's what we are. That means we have lost simplicity. So and that's why we are suffering in this way. So we have to understand this point. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada writes, we have to be very careful. Prabhupada writes in the purport very nicely. We have to remember that actually in Vaikuntha, there is nothing but freshness. Even the flowers picked from the trees and plants remain fresh. For everything in spiritual guide retain the originality and does not fade. This is a very, very important point. The fragrance of the flowers picked from the trees and garlands does not fade. So it is very important for us to understand this. So one second. Just one second. The flowers does not fade. It's very important for us to understand. If you are always connected to Krishna, we can be able to rush. And that's why our Maharaj says, if you chant nicely, I have to wear goggles to see you because you will be radiant. And you can see some devotees like Mahatma Das Prabhu and so many people who are chanting nicely, their faces are effulgent because they are fresh always. But for us, for me, I wake up about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I feel drowsy at 5:30 because we are not connected to Krishna. We are chanting, but our mind is not. That's Hridaya. We are not given the heart seat. That's what is mentioned in the second verse. No, what is that verse? Darshaniyam Shantam Mano Nayana Hridaya Hamboja Vistaram. We are not given the seat for Krishna, and therefore, what has happened? Our body is fading. So this is what we have to understand, that we are not fresh. We have become dull after morning Mangalarati. We won't take rest, and that's what happens. The flowers does not fade at all. It is very important for us, point of. If you are always connected with Krishna, Maharaj said, I have to wear goggles to see you. And this is what it. And then you can see from the pages of the Bhagavatam, even Brahma was bewildered when Hiranyaksha was killed by the Lord. It is mentioned in 3rd canto, 19th chapter, 27th verse. It is beautiful verse, you know. 3rd, 19, 27. Beautiful verse. So this verse says, Shitau Sayanam Tapakunta Vachasam Karala Damsham Paridashta Dachadam Ajadayo Bhikshya Shasham Shuragata Aho Imam Plo Labate Samstitim. It's beautiful verse. So it says, the translation says very nicely. So Aja, Brahma and others arrived on the spot at the to see the fearfully tusked demon lying on the ground, biting his lip. The glow of his face was yet unfaded. Akunta Varchasam. Akunta Varchasam means, Prabhupada writes, unfaded glow on the body. You know, when the soul leaves the body, automatically it starts fading because it starts stinking and it's gone depreciating. You know, you cannot see a dead body at all. It starts sinking. But here, when Hiranyaksha was killed by the Lord, just by touch of his transcendental hand, then when touch of his hand, what has happened? The body did not fade. See the beauty? So the body did not fade and it was glowing. And this is bewildering. Oh, and then he says that, oh, Imam, he becomes excited. When Brahma sees the body, the transcendental body of Hiranyaksha touched by the Lord, he said, how come meet such blessed death? So this is what we have to understand. So the moment we touch the Krishna's names and forms and the paraphernalia, we also become glowing effulgence. But it depends how sincere we are, unless we give Krishna. So Prabhupada writes in the purport of the last, Brahma and other demigods eulogized the death of the demon. Eulogized means glorified, extremely glorified the death of it. Hiranyaksha is a demon, but he is being glorified. Can you imagine? Just because of the touch of the Lord. So it is very important for us to understand that when we are in constant touch, when by sincere chanting of the holy names, your flow, Maharaj says, by sincere chanting, your face will glow. But however, we are not chanting like that. And that's why we are suffering. Our chanting 24 hours out of 16 rounds, 16 rounds, few mantras we concentrate. All other mantras are material planning. All our material planning, all material activities are being planned during this chant. Okay, this is the best time to chant, best time to plan our material activities. And that's what we do. And that I'm doing that. I'm not saying about you. I will not say, I don't have any authority to say about you, but it is happening to me. It is very clear that is happening to me because I am chanting with inattention. I'm not able to chant with attention. And because we are not able to chant with attention, that's why our faces are glowing, our faces are fading. And that's why we become tired. All these things. Actually, we chant and regenerate. And we had the experience of Maharaj, when we took initiation in 2002, August, I think 30th August 2002. I remember the day after the initiation, which is 31st August, which was a Janmashtami day. The next day was a Janmashtami. And we were sitting in the morning with Maharaj, morning about 6:30, after the Mangalarti, 5:30 to 2 o'clock. We were reading the Bhagavad Gita, entire Bhagavad Gita we were reading with the translation. And he was correcting us wherever we were making mistakes in the pronunciation of the verses. And then it took us about 2:30. And up to 2:30, we didn't feel hunger, thirst. We were ever fresh because we were in touch with Bhagavad Gita and with the pure devotee. So not only it applicable to Krishna, pure devotee also has got the potency to convert that situation. So you will not be, and we didn't feel hunger, we didn't feel thirsty, we didn't feel sleepy at all. Normal days you try. Now this Nirjala Ekadashi is coming. So we immediately want to sleep. Morning we wake up and then we want to sleep for the whole day. And that is my tendency. So this is how, because we are not chanting the holy names of Krishna. So this is very important for us. So let us not worry too much about it, but we have to take some steps, concrete steps towards chanting the holy names with attention. Few mantras. Maharaj says, if you cannot done one round, at least few rounds. If not few rounds, few malas. we should try to attentive chant the holy names and remember our spiritual master, the lotus feet of the spiritual master and lotus feet of the Lord. And that's why the beautiful features, no? When you go and have the darshan of the Lord, we should see all the features. And these features should come in front of us when we chant the holy names. If you cannot hear the holy names with attention, because naturally we are not able to do that. So these are all additional options. But Prabhupada said simple chanting is just hear the holy name. That's all. That is enough to purify our consciousness. We do know this good satam. Krishna will clean our heart. And then he can come and sit. He can come and he's already there, but presently he is covered because he is not there, because Maya is full in our heart. So Krishna is not able to occupy. He is saying, waiting. He is chanting my name, but he's not giving me seat. And here in this verse, beautiful, it is mentioned nicely. It is said that Hriday Amboja Vistaram. Vistaram means seat. We have to give seat to Krishna in our heart. And because Hiranyaksha was a demon, but he was touched by the Lord. And the constant touch with the holy names will purify our existence. And that's what we have to understand. So the flowers did not fade. That's what we have to understand. Flowers did not fade at all. And that's why the bees are coming. The flowers were picked from the tree. When the tree was picked, actually it fades. Immediately the flower starts fading. We keep in the fridge. In the fridge also it fades. Today I couldn't get good flowers, all faded. So it happens. We buy for 3, 4 days, 5 days, and the 5th day it fades. But however, when you touch with Krishna, it never fades. And that's so because the spiritual world is absolute, is always conscious, and therefore it is a different transcendental platform. Paradeya. Paradeya means transcendental. So it is ever fresh. And that's what we have to understand. So we have to constantly chant the holy names. And we are going on the path of upwards. So what we have to do is, material nature will definitely affect us. So the material things will definitely affect our consciousness. But we should be steady to go ahead with Krishna consciousness. And we should not get diverted by all the material wranglings which affects our consciousness. It will affect. Definitely, we are not pure devotees. It will affect our consciousness. Don't worry about it. But however, continue to chant and pray to Krishna. Please let me be concentrate on the holy names. And so that our faces will glow. So the more, and we become young actually. I envy Giriraj. His chanting is so wonderful that he looks young. At 60, he looks like 40 only. So this is because of the secret is chanting the holy names with attention. So the face is not reducing, it's glowing. So even today it is glowing because of him. Even me and Yogesh have lost his hair has become white. I lost the hair also. So that means when you chant with attention, then our faces will glow and we will become young. And we become young. This is proof. And the energy energized. And that's why Prabhupada could sleep only for 1 hour because his body didn't fade at all. It was glowing. It was glowing effulgent because even though physically it looks like fading, but his energy, his soul was ever active, ever fresh. Or 2 o'clock in the morning, he will wake up and he will be very fresh. 4:30 in the Mangalati, he is very fresh. He is unlike us. 4:30 we come and then we snooze. We snooze. We sleep in the Mangalarti. So, but he was never ever fresh 4:30. Just 1 hour of sleep was enough for him at the age. When we become old, we require more sleep. But he defied the nature's law. Completely defied nature's law, Prabhupada. Completely defied. Because he was ever constantly touched with the holy names of the Lord. He was always in touch with Krishna. He was always meditating upon how to work for Krishna. Because Satatam Kirtayanto. And that is the beauty. And that is the reason that the body did not fade. And that's why he could survive for 6 months with just the juices. We cannot survive. With juice, we cannot survive for 6 months. Manly 5 days, 10 days. 11th day, we will die. But he was able to survive because his face was ever good. Because he was in constant touch. And that's what we should try. So, we may have a blessed death, we may not have a blessed death, it doesn't matter. But as long as we are chanting the holy names, Krishna will ensure, because he is going to count. This living entity has taken my names. How can I leave him? So this is Krishna, sir. See, Krishna says, I cannot forget him. What is that verse? 1:6:24. Matin mayi nibadetam nam pratyet karprit. Praja Sarga Nirodhibi, Smritischa Bad Anugraha, 1624. A very clear verse. He says, he assures from the pages of the Bhagavatam, Matin Mahi, one who has dedicated Matin Mahi Nebadhyam, one who has put my heart and soul in Krishna, then Navabadhyam. He will not be intelligent engaged in my devotion. If you engage in Krishna consciousness, intelligent, by decorating the deities, by making prasadam, intelligent, whatever intelligence you use in any part of the devotion service, cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation or at the time of redemption. And this will continue because of my causeless mercy. So that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. So even if start a little, then Krishna will ensure. So that's why we should, whether we concentrate, doesn't mean tomorrow onwards, if we don't concentrate, I will not chant, doesn't matter. Even if you are not able to concentrate, continue to chant. Because one day you will attain the perfection. Now we are doing Nama Parad. Then we have to come to Nama Bash. And then Shuddha Japa. Shuddha Japa will come eventually. Maybe in this lifetime or any lifetime, doesn't matter. But we have to start somewhere. And that's why Krishna Prabhupada started this addiction. And that's why he put 16 rounds. Otherwise, you would have put 4 rounds, 2 rounds, 1 round. So 16 rounds means at least 2 hours. At least few mantras will go into our ears. And that's what Krishna wants. And that's what Prabhupada wants. So it's very important. And that's why it is transcendent. And it is reconfirmed again in 2nd canto, 8th chapter, 3rd verse. So how the Krishna's names, forms, pastimes are all beautifully it is mentioned in the page of the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2.8.3. Maharaj is emphasizing this. He was discussing this point, I think 28th January on the day of Rath Yatra. I think 11 o'clock he was explaining about this particular purport. Actually, we were supposed to make some, each one has to make some chapter summary. And then he was discussing with Sham Sharan Prabhu from Delhi, he was discussing how to do that, the consolidation or summary of each chapter. So he says 2.8, Katasya Maha Abaho Yatam 2.8.3, The purport is very important. But anyway, I'm just putting the verse. Okay, you can read it whenever time permits. So it says, Katasya Maha Abaha Yataham Akilatmani Krishne Neveshya Nishsangam Manas Takshe Kale Varam. See here, he says, oh, greatly fortunate Shukadev Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul Krishna and being completely freed from material qualities and thus relinquish about. The purport is very bad. To be fully engaged in hearing the transcendental narration is chanting the holy names or anything or any part of the devotional service. Describe the text of Bhagavatam means to constantly associate with Krishna. To constantly associate with Krishna means we are free from the qualities of man. So, and that is the reason, because constantly Hiranyaksha was touched by the Lord. Even one time touching purifies. Anyway, Hiranyaksha is not an ordinary living entity. He is part of Jaya Vijaya. So he was always constant touch, and he was touched again by the Lord, and therefore his body did not fade at all. So this is what we have to understand. To constantly associate with Krishna means we are free from the qualities of matter. So this is way. Lord Krishna is like the sun, material contamination is like darkness. And the presence of sun dissipates. So constant engagement in the association of Lord frees one from the contamination. So that's why Prabhupada recommends, whenever time permits, please chant the holy names of Krishna. Not necessarily 16 rounds, you can chant as many rounds. And always remember Krishna, always remember the holy names. So we don't know when we lose our body. So we have to be constantly in touch with the Supreme Lord, so that we are free from material qualities. The Tamoguna, because Ituna, Mam Chayo Avibicharena, Bhakti Yogena Seva, 1426. Samguna Samadetita, Brahma Bhuayakal, Avibicharena. Unfailing in all circumstances, if you do devotional service, what happens? Krishna assures, Saguna Samadetita. He will take you out of this material also. All the material qualities will be given. So this is what we have to understand. So this is what the first verse talks about. Now let us go into the second verse. Second verse talks about priceless necklace, Valaya. So it's all, both are linked to each other also. The first verse basically talks about how Krishna is simple, how no. First verse only we are talking about Parade Haravalaya, Kirita Muda Nupura. So first verse only we are talking. So it is mentioned that one second. Sorry. Parade, priceless, pearl or necklace. So now we are going to concentrate on the ornaments. The ornaments, it is mentioned by, I think by Acharya Ramanujacharya calls it as all the ornaments. Here we are talking about pearl necklace and the bracelets and kireetam for the crown and the kundalam, anga, the armlets and nupuram anklets, whichever the description of all the ornaments. Acharya Ramanujacharya says in one of his lecture, one of his scriptures, he says, Aparimata Divya Bhushanam, countless transcendental arguments. So that Prabhupada, it is actually from Narahari Prabhu. I have taken shelter of Narahari Prabhu. He has written a beautiful article on transcendental arguments. I have taken from him the clues. Now, I'm not. This is not my product. So this is already. It is already. He is the owner of this. So I'm just repeating. So here we have to understand all the ornaments of the Lord are completely transcendental, and they are all products of internal energy, and they don't fade. Okay, since it is touching the Lord, automatically it does. The pearl necklace, armlets, and there is no price. For our there is no price for this, because this is not material. Whereas material jewelry and all, once after some time, what happens? It fades. The gold also, the bracelet also, in the silver, diamond, all these fades after some time, and then it gets corrupted, and even the gold, and then we have to polish or something like that. Even the silver also, silver vessels also get oxidized, the silver oxide, and automatically it becomes black. But in case of Krishna's ornaments, because they are eternal, they are spiritual, it doesn't get fade at all. It is ever, and therefore it is priceless. And this is not a product of material nature. It is not made of the stone or from the material earth. From the earth, it is not taken. So our jewelries are all made of the earth, and it can fade at any time. And also, when we are young, when we wear it, it is very nice. When we become old, when we wear it, people don't look at you. Young girls means they will look. Young boys means they will look. Old people will look, even if you wear the jewelry. So it is now, I don't know. Now the jewelry is, I think somebody has spent 500 crores on saris and jewelry. One sari itself is, I think, 5 crores. I don't know what is the price. One fellow, Chennai silk fellow, is getting married to a girl, to a person. He made a jewelry, sari with jewels, stems, stones, and everything. And I think it's 5 crores or 50 crores, one sari. So, and then we have to understand that Krishna's jewelry are eternal. And the one more point is very important, that Krishna's are beyond restriction of space and size. So Krishna comes as a small Vatu, 8 inches, when he comes from the womb of Uttara, in Uttara praise, Pahi Mahavi, Deva Deva Jagatpati, Nanyam Tadapyam Pashe, Etamitu. She is praying to protect Abhimanyu in her womb. She is trying to pray she is praying to Krishna, please protect, Pahi, please protect. And then Krishna enters. It's a small Vatu. Bhagavatam gives book description, first canto, 12th chapter, 8th and 9th verse. Full description, beautiful description of the Lord is there. But Krishna is very small, but his Kirita Kuntala, everything is there. It is completely fits. In our case, suppose we buy, we buy some jewelry for the children, So I purchased an anklet, for my son when he was 1 year old. Now I cannot put that anklet because he has become big. I cannot put that. But in case of Krishna, it can expand, it can contract, because he is absolute. He is absolute. And therefore, the ornaments are transcendental. When he gave the Divya Darshan to Arjuna, the universal form, at the time also all the ornaments expanded. Small ornaments. When he becomes as a Vatu, small Vamana also, it contracts and it expands. And according to Krishna's whim, Krishna's direction, Krishna thinks that, okay, this, then it becomes a big Vanamala. It becomes a big pearl necklace. It becomes a big anklet. And in case of Vatu, when he comes as a super soul inside the heart, it is a small one, 8 inches. Accordingly, the jewelries are made. It's according to space, restriction, space and size. But in our case, it is not like that. So we cannot wear, the same thing. For example, we cannot wear all this hair because Krishna is always slim. Krishna eats very little, frugal. What is that in English? Mitabuk. Mitabuk means he eats very frugally. Krishna doesn't eat. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate a lot of prasadam, and then this Sarva Bhattacharya's son-in-law criticized him, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed that I am eating too much. I don't have to eat this much. So he was criticized. So this is what we have to understand, that with Krishna, and that's why Krishna's body, Krishna's body, but people cannot wear the what is that? Vibrat Vasha. Vibrat Vasha. Vibrat Vasha means putting the jewelry ornament in your hip. Yeah, we cannot wear. When you become very fat, we cannot wear that the ornaments, in your hips. You cannot wear because it is very fat. It doesn't look nice. But Krishna's body is always very slim, So Tribhanga. So that's why his body is formed, and he can expand it and contract it also. So that's why it looks very nice, The Bibrat Vashaha is ornaments which is enclosing, the hip is really wonderful. So this is what we have to understand, no? Krishna's forms are transcendental. And then Krishna's ornaments are eternal. Prabhupada writes, it is called Virajam. Virajam means free from all material contamination. All these ornaments, pearl necklace and all, what these anklets and armlets, they are all Virajam. It is mentioned in 3rd canto, 21st chapter, when Krishna gave darshan to Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni, after long penance, he had darshan of the Lord. And that description of the Lord is mentioned, Virajam. Virajam means his body. The Lord was spotless yellow silk saree and yellow silk dhoti, and it is free from all contamination. There is not even iota of contamination. Virajam. Virajam. And it is mentioned nicely, the declaration of the Lord beyond material consumption, as admitted by impersonalists like Shankaracharya, Narayana, the Supreme Person, nothing to do with material creation. The varieties of the transcendental Lord, his body's form, are not manufactured material energy, are all confirmed by the Vedic. So this is what we have to understand. Viraja Ambaram. Viraja Ambaram is the ornament and decoration are all free from material inabilities. This is what we have to understand. Viraja Ambaram. Beautiful word, 3:21:10 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna's ornaments are eternal, and Krishna and his ornaments are non-different. That is very important. Krishna and his ornaments are non-different. Just like his name is non-different from him, his ornaments are non-different from him. And that's why every part of Krishna's body, everything is transcendental. Even the conch is transcendental. Even everything, whatever we associate with Krishna, these are all transcendental. They are not material. They look like material elements, but they are transcendental. And they have to be treated as respectfully, as reverently as we worship the Lord. And that's why we have to be very, very careful while dealing with the vessels and whatever the items, even the lamps which are offered to Krishna. So this point is nicely mentioned, that Krishna's and ornaments are non-different, Prabhupada writes in the verse, it is 6:832, 6:832. It is very nice. 6:832. Okay, it is mentioned that Prabhupada writes, since the cause and effect are same, there is no difference between the cause and effect. Consequently, the ornaments and weapons of the Lord, being the expansion of the spiritual energy, it is not a material energy. That's what we have to understand. So his ornaments are spiritual energy, and therefore non-different from him. This point is brought up by Daktre Shakti. So this is what we have to understand. So now we have talked about so many things about the ornaments of the Lord. It is eternal, it can expand, and it is non-different from him. You have seen. There are so many other points, but we don't have time. And now we will discuss what are the benefits of appreciating the Lord's ornaments. We have appreciated the Lord's ornaments, no? We will see what are all the benefits. It is mentioned nicely. They are transcendental. They are non-different from transcendental personality. They are manifestation of internal energy, and due to his costless mercy. So it is mentioned, it is nicely mentioned 6:833. Jene sattvamanena sarvagyo bhagavan arihi padi sarvasvarupena sada sarvatra sarvagaha. This 6:833 of Bhagavatam says very nicely what is the benefit of describing the transcendental nature of the Lord. It is mentioned nicely. 6:833. It is mentioned nicely. According to the elevated spiritual understanding, the omniscient Lord who manifests various forms is present everywhere. May he always protect us everywhere from all calamities. And Prabhupada writes, the ornaments and the same, they can also protect us. Patu Sarupe Sarupana, Sada Sarvata Sarvakaha. So this is a part of the Narayana Kavacha, 6:824. Every day we can recite this, This is a Narayana Kavacha. Each and every part of the body is being described. Each and every ornament of the Lord is being described. And this is the protection from us, from all the material calamities. He says, He will always protect us from various calamities, various forms. So this is what we have to understand, Madhvacharya has written in the Tantra Bhagavata to show that the weapons and ornaments of the Lord are the eternal energy, and to also to pray to them for protection. He says, Eka eva paro Vishnu Musheti Dvijashe Ajaha Tatati Bhakti Pradatmena Swayam Eva Vastitaha Satyenanena Namam Deva Patu Sarveshwaro Hari. The Supreme Lord, unborn or Lord Vishnu, exists in his eternal form, eternal energy as ornaments, chakra, flag. By this truth, Lord is who is the supreme controller, protect us. So he is praying to Krishna that Madhvacharya is praying to Krishna, please protect us. So all these ornaments are also a source of protection. So the benefit of glorifying the ornaments of the Lord is for protection. This is a benefit. This is a byproduct of devotion service. So if you, whatever the ornaments, you are trying to glorify the Lord through the ornaments, then Krishna starts his protection. And the protection is starting from the beginning of the devotional service. So this, and then there is one more verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Sarvodapya Hare Nama Rupa Yana Yudannaha Udindriya Vana Prana Pantu Parshada Bhushnaha. May the Supreme Lord, a Supreme Personality of God, holy names, his transcendental form, his carrier, all the weapons decorating him, personal, so protect our intelligence, senses, mind, and life from all dangers. See, what is the beauty of the verse? 6:8:30. This verse, please, you can recite every day, this verse, So I can tell this because I am reciting every day. So I can say that I am reciting. Not in Abu Dhabi, but in Chennai only I started reciting. So please, you can recite every day. This Narayana Kavacha, no? It says, may the Supreme Lord, his holy names. So, Sarva Bhade Hare Nama. Hare Nama means Hare Krishna. May always protect our intelligence, senses, mind, and life. And if it does it, what will happen? We will not deviate. Then our mind will be attached. Then our seat will be Krishna. And every day we can pray this verse before chanting the holy names. So that what will happen? Our intelligent mind and senses are controlled to hear the holy names. They don't deviate away from the holy names. And this is the form of this also. Nama Amrita is Amrita of Nama. So because this also we have to understand. Nama Amrita. So we have a group, daily group, morning group chanting, organized in Chennai, group by the Tambaram group. From that group we attend that. And the Nama Amrita we read every day for the glories of the holy name. Every day. At the end of the session, beginning also we read Nama Amrita. Beginning one, even at the end of the session. So it is very good. So every day we recite the Nama Amrita. It is very good. So that we understand the values of the holy name. So it protects our mind, intelligence. So that we can give seat for Krishna. We have to give the seat, That's what it is mentioned in the first verse. We have to, second verse, sorry, present verse. Hridaya Amboja Vistaram. Vistaram means we have to give a seat for Krishna. So this 6:8:30 is very important. If you have time, please note down this verse. 6:8:30 is very, very important. Please don't miss this. I want you to go through that. Okay. So 6:8:30 is very important for us to understand. So may the Supreme Lord is carriers all intelligence, senses, mind, and life are ended. Now we'll go to 3:28:16. I think we have time, Prabhu, or we'll close it. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Continue, Prabhu.
10 minutes? 10 minutes, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you. So, Kanchi Gunnos Shoni Hridayam Bhuja Vistaram Darshaniyatamam Shantam Mano Nayana Vartanam. Now, I'm not able to do justification for the second verse, but I will briefly tell about it. Here, very important. Hridaya's Amboja Vistaram stands on the lotus feet of devotees' heart. So, we have to give seat for Krishna. Presently, our heart is filled with material desires, material hankerings, material things, and so many other things are disturbing our heart. And therefore, and that's why Prabhupada used the word in the translation and word to word also, heart and mind together. So, because the mind is also in the heart, the intelligence is also in the heart. So, the heart and mind, there is no distinction as such. Heart means not the physical heart. We are talking about the transcendental heart, which is the place for the subtle elements. False ego, mind, and intelligence. All three sit in one place. So this heart which we should give for Krishna. And that's what they are both a Vistaram. If you give the seat for Krishna, then it is wonderful. So we have to understand whenever we face difficulties that Krishna is in control. That's what we have to understand. Hriday Ambuja Vistaram. If we give Krishna the place, then automatically we have to understand one important point, especially when you are facing difficulties in our material life. We have to understand Sarvaloka Mageshwar. Krishna is in control, but we want to control, and that is our nature. Because we want to control the situation, but which is beyond our control. That is what we are. Sarva Kala Mritam Mani, as Bhishma is saying, everything is according to time. The time is not in your favor. Time is Krishna. So Krishna is teaching us some lesson. So at that time, we have to understand patiently. And Maharaj says in one of the lectures, we have to patiently endure during the time. We have to tolerate the situation. And the situation eventually will go. But it's not so easy, huh? Prabhuji's Mataji's. To tolerate some unimaginable situation is very difficult. I don't know how to tolerate. We react, which is natural. So, but Maharaj says, try to tolerate. Maharaj says, not tolerate. And Prabhupada says, no, try to tolerate. At least we should try to tolerate. And that's the only way, So we have to understand Krishna is in control. If you understand that, then what happens? Material difficulties will not occupy the heart. Then Vistaram, Krishna can come and occupy. If what is happening in our life is any material problems, which is engulfing us all the time, it is hurting us very badly. Okay, so that occupies the heart. And therefore, you doing chanting, doing the devotion service, we are always thinking about it. With Satatam, material thinking. Satatam Kirtayam Mom, we are supposed to do, but we are doing the opposite. Because we want to solve the problem, but we cannot control the problem. We cannot solve that at all. It's not under our control at all. We know that it's not under our control. But we don't understand that it's not our control. And we want to control it. And that's why we are struggling. And that's why Vistaram means the seat in the heart is not given. We are not giving the seat. And that's why we are struggling. And therefore, it is very important for us during this time of difficulties and material difficulties, we have to give the heart. When you are happy also, when you are happy also, you don't do it. And Narahari Prabhu used to say, when you are happy, you want to enjoy the happiness in the form of sense gratification. At the time, we don't give seat for Krishna. When you are in difficulty, we are thinking about the difficulty. We are not giving seat for Krishna. So almost we are not giving any seat for Krishna. And then we want a seat in Gola Vrindavan. How Krishna will give you? Can you imagine? You are not giving a seat to him in his heart when you are in happiness or in difficulty, and then you expect a seat in Gola Vrindavan. This time, this life itself, I want to go. I want to be with Krishna. How is it possible? Is it justified? Prabhuji's Mataji's? It's not justified. So we have to think about it. So we have to give the seat. Please, Hriday Amboja Vistaram. Vistaram means we have to broaden our field of activities, broaden our heart. In the sense, we have to think about Krishna, and Krishna, and Maharaj says very nicely, if you take care of, Maharaj says the ornaments and all, Maharaj is one of the lectures, he says, if you take care of the altar, he was giving a lecture in Auckland, he said the altar is excellent, super. And then he told, if you take care of the altar, altar will take care of you. Altar is not different from Krishna because everything is absolute. The altar is having Krishna in that. So the altar becomes transcendental. The ornaments are transcendental. Just now we discussed. So the ornaments are transcendental. The altar is transcendental. Then what happens? If you take care of the altar nicely, the altar will take care of you. Maharaj says very nice, very profound statement. So this is very important. So we have to give seat for Krishna. When we are happy circumstances also we tend to forget. What is that? Two things happens in a happy circumstance. I think it is 14th chapter, 6th verse. Beautiful verse, I think I was listening to, Radhesham Prabhu. He was telling a very nice point. That, one second. 14.6. Can you take that, Prabhu? 14.6. Can we take 14.6? I forgot that verse. Take it? Okay, otherwise I will take it. Okay. Just 1 second, bear with me. Yes. Tatrasutvam nirmalatva prakashasha manamayam sukha sangena batnati jnana sangena chanaka. Regarding happiness, he says, mode of goodness being purer than others is eliminating free from all interaction. Thus, situated in the mode of become conditioned by answer, sense of happiness and knowledge. So, two things. When you become knowledge about Krishna, then we become in the mode of goodness and we become proud, and pride comes to us. And when the sense of happiness, we want to enjoy the sense of we forget Krishna. So that's why Krishna is warning us that in the mode we become conditioned. So because that's what Devavati Mata is telling, we are conditioned. The mode of goodness also is conditioned. It's sense of happiness and knowledge. Because we have the knowledge and we become proud. When happiness comes, we forget about Krishna. So when happiness is discussed, Hridaya Amboja Vistaram. So we have to give place for Krishna all the time. And that's what Prabhupada used the word heart and soul together, mind in various ways, but no confusion. It is our mind which is the biggest problem. Mind is controlled, the soul and heart are automatically controlled. And that's what we have to understand. And how the mind, the Vistaram, the best example is the gopis. Sorry, at the 10th canto, 31st chapter, 15th verse. Beautiful verse. When you have time, please go through it. Maharaj loved this verse. Bhagavan Krishna Agni Kananam Truti Gayate Krishna Twam Pashyatam Udila Kuntalam Krishna Sri Mugam Chate Jadaudikshatam Krishna Pashmagdadrisham. He says, Atati Bhagavan, oh Krishna, Agni Kananam, you are going to the forest. Truti Gayate, you are going in the morning. Truti Gayate, 1 second of separation, Krishna says, When you are not seeing you in the morning, you are going for grazing the cows and calves. Truti Gayati, 1 truti, less than 1 millionth of a second, is like a yuga for us. Yuga itam nimishena, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Truti Gayate, Twama Pashyata. Gopis. Krishna came, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the form of gopis, no? And that's why he says, no? What is that verse? Yugaisham Nimishena. It looked like when you're separated from you. And the Yugaitam Nimishena. So the gopis mood he came, no? Krishna came in the gopis mood. So he was able to recite the same verse in a different form. That's all. He says Atati at Bhavan in Gopi prayers. When he came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says Yugaitam Nimishena. So there is no difference. So here, Ruti Yugayate Twama Pashyatam. If you don't see, Pashyatam means see. If you don't see, Udila Kuntalam, your beautiful curly locks of hair, because they are looking at the ornaments, because they were looking completely absorbed in Krishna. Sri Mugam Chate, your body, your Sri Mugam, your face is so beautiful, and it has the curly hair. Curly hair is so beautiful. It is coming in front of your ears. Kutila Kuntalam Krishna Sri Mugam Chate Jadau Dikshatam. I'm blaming the Jada. This Brahma they are cursing Brahma. Jada. He's how you are a fool. Why? You have given the eyelids, because it is closing, we are not able to see the transcendence. Because they have given the seat for Krishna, Amboja Vistaram. The lotus heart is given for Krishna. Lotus is what? It's completely detached, It doesn't touch the dirt at all. Lotus flower is completely pure, even though it is the dust. We are in the material world, a mud of material world. What is that? Gunashanka Pankam. We are all in the material world. And lotus, and that's why they use the word Amboja. Hridaya Amboja. Our heart should be like a lotus, not touching the water, Padmapatra Ivambasa. Just like, Padmapatra Ivambasa means just like water. Lotus is not touched by the water. Whatever water you put on the lotus, it doesn't stick to it. The same way, we have to leave the material contamination and be always constantly in touch with the Supreme Lord. And that's how we should understand this. Hridaya Amboja Vistaram. So, Atati and Bhavan, Jadau Dikshadam, Pashmagdadrisham. This eyelid is there. Therefore, the eye is blinking. I am not able to see you. So, this is the mood. Hridaya Amboja Vistaram. And the Darshaniya Tamam, most charming to look at. And this, I will tell a story. And then the story is, I'll compress it in a beautiful way. I want to discuss so many things, but there was one devotee, is called Dhanudas. He had a wife called Ponachi. He was enamored by her beauty all the time. So one day, what happened? He was going in Srirangam, and Ponachi is going, and he was carrying an umbrella, looking at her, fully absorbed. And then opposite, Ramanujacharya exalted Acharya of Shiva Sampradaya, is coming. He doesn't look at him. Ramanujacharya saw this. This boy, young boy, is attracted. Ponnachi. Why is he attracted to the Ponnachi? Why is he attracted to this Ponnachi? Why this you should be carried away by this Ponnachi? He is so much upset. Why is he attracted by the Ponnachi at all? He should not be attracted by Ponnachi. Why is he attracted? I am very much worried. So Ramanujacharya thought that okay, we have to teach him a lesson. And then he called Dhanudasa. He called one of his able and bring Dhanudasa. Dhanudasa. So you want to see some transcendental form? So this is the next verse. Darshaniya Tamam. The most charming. I will give you a most charming personality to look at. And then you can see who is a beautiful. If there is anything, something like that, yes. And then he took him to Srirangam and the darshan of the Lord. The moment Dhanudasa saw the form of the Lord, he was completely transformed. So, because Hridaya Amboja Vistara, he gave full seat to Krishna, Sri Ranganatha. Then what happened? He became a devotee, and both he and Punyachi became exalted disciples, and they renounced everything for the sake of Krishna, and they were so renounced, and they gave all the jewelry and everything, and they left everything, and they become Dhanudasa became a pure, very good disciple, exalted disciple of Darshaniya Tamam, most charming to look at. Krishna's form is so, and that's why Prabhupada puts in every places beautiful decoration of the deities, and Krishna's form itself is beauty, But we have to understand not the decoration of the cloths, but Krishna's form only gives. And then next is Shantam, serene. Best example is Shantam is that Hiranyakashipu was criticizing. He says, "You are a rascal. You are." He's telling Varaha, "You are enemies to kill us. You have killed some demons and remaining invisible. Oh fool! Your power is only mystic. I shall enliven them. You will fall dead with skull smash." He was shouting at him at the time. He was serene. Serene means completely peaceful. Serene atmosphere, Shantam. So Lord Varaha was peaceful. He was trying to concentrate on the Bhumi Mata and put her likely. And then that's why Bhumi Mata is tolerating even today. If Krishna, Lord Varaha was agitated, then Bhumi Mata will get agitated even for simple drilling also. Now she is tolerating so much because Bhumi Mata was kept from the Garbhotaka ocean and put in the proper place. At the time Krishna ensured that you should not get disturbed by the shouting and screaming of Hiranyaksha. And that's why he's Shantam. Krishna is Shantam. The last is Mana Nayana Vardhanam. Gladden the eyes and so that's why Prabhupada writes in the purport of 1822, we become pacified when we go to the temple. We go with so much of anxiety. When you go to the temple of Chennai temple or Radha Neel Madhav or any temple in ISKCON, we become pacified. Because burning attention of them, because we are all non-devotees. Burning attention, these deities attract the living entities and completely, gladdens the soul. Once you go into the, enter the temple, we become completely glad. Oh, such a wonderful form of the Lord. We completely forget all our material miseries for the time being at least. And then afterwards, the material miseries come. We forget for the time being. Nama Pangaja Nabhaya, Nama Pangaja Netraya. Because Krishna's form is Netraya. Prabhupada writes, whose glance is cooling as a lotus flower. Krishna's glance. So we have to get the Krishna's glance, and that's what we have to anchor for it all the time. And Krishna's glance will come once we are really attached. Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suete Sarachara. He's looking and glancing at the material nature. And why will not look at us? Only we have to become Hridaya Amboja Vistaram. Mano, we have to become, we should broaden our field of activities. We should see the Lord form and become happy. And that's why this is the purpose. Chant and be happy. But we are chant and morose. Because we are engulfed with material problems. Because Hridaya Amboja Vistaram. We are not given a seat for Krishna. And that's what we have to think. And every ornament of the Lord is transcendent. That's what we see. And we touch with the Lord, it is not fading at all. So it is not fading, and it is constantly touched. It purifies our contamination, and the ornaments are eternal. And by glorifying the Lord's ornaments, what happens? We are getting purified. And then now, in this verse, Krishna's form is that for that purpose, for the previous verse. So, in order to have Krishna in our heart, what is the procedure we have to do? So, Krishna's forms and ornaments are transcendental. Very good. Okay, that is very good. And it never fades. How to get it? And that is what is explained in the 16th verse. 15th verse talks about, basically talks about the 15th verse. 15th verse talks about how Krishna's form is transcendental, his ornaments are transcendental. And then it talks about how the flowers doesn't fade. And that's why we have to understand, we have to become simple. First quality, Hridayam Bhoja Vistaram. We have to give place for Krishna. And then we have to, once we see the form of the Lord, we become serene, we become Shanta, Darshaniya Tamam. And this Darshaniya Tamam means we should not agitate any living. Whenever some living entity come to us, we should be pleasing to them. Oh, when you go to this devotee, he will shout and scream, always cribbing. So what happens? Nobody will come. So this is always we are cribbing. In the office also, most cribbing person means nobody will go, nobody will like. So we should be Darshaniya Tamam. We should be pleasing to the living. And this is the quality of the Lord. And we have to imbibe that quality. Krishna is pleasing to every one of us. So we should be Darshaniya Tamam. And then serene. Darshaniya Tamam, how it will come? When you become Shanta. We are peaceful. In agitating circumstances, we don't get agitated. And then what happens? Finally, what happens? Mana Nayana Vartanam. Then what happens? We can enliven the devotees who are coming to us for Krishna consciousness. We can enliven. If you conduct as per Krishna, and then we become a devotee of Krishna, we get the qualities of Krishna. Correct? Because Krishna's qualities, our qualities are same. But in quantity we are missing. So we have to adopt the qualities of Krishna. And then automatically what happens? We can enliven the living entities. Gladdens the eyes. So everybody become enlivened by seeing us. And that's what we should try in this lifetime. Okay? Now, I think we should stop here. It's already 10:30. Thanks. Sorry for extending so much time. Please forgive me for any mistakes. I'm a little fast because I want to compress all this in one class. Sorry for that. Usually I do. Otherwise, I should have continued next week. But I don't know who is the next situation. So I want to compress it and close it, the 2 verses. Okay. Thank you very much, Girivardhari. All the people who have tolerated me, thank you very much. If I made any mistake, please forgive me. If I have spoken anything wrong, hurt you anything, please forgive. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Ro. Very nice class. Nicely doing the description of the Lord and how can our mind be focused. That's very nice. You have taken very nicely. Given a lot of points to refer to Srimad Bhagavatam 6, 8, 24, 30, 3, 19, 27. So many verses you have quoted. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Only thing we should find time to meditate on those verses. You have gone through it, but you have not gone through it. Thank you very much. Any Prabhuji and Mataji, anything? If you have any doubt, last week there were a lot of doubts and Prabhuji was not there. There were a lot of doubts last week. Gajendra Suresh Prabhu, Manish Prabhu, they had all a lot of questions.
Hare Krishna was Dandavan.
Nice, Prabhu. Dandavan.
Prabhuji, you nicely said in the class, like, we doesn't give a seat for Krishna in happiness.
No, I'm not able to hear you, Prabhu. Little louder.
Yeah, Prabhuji. You said that we doesn't give a seat while we are in happiness. We want to enjoy the senses. And while in distress also, we doesn't give a seat because we always fearful or we consequences and we always think about the problem. But in return, we expect that we need, in this life only, we need to come back to Godhead. We need a seat in the Godhead. And we often hear this insistently, like when we do the service, like when we are engaging in the service, like the primary service, which is a devotional, chanting. And this is the only service because we should not dwell in the past and future. Past, which is not under control. Future, which doesn't have any future, but we still we think anchor, and we do all the material planning during the chant. But even after hearing so many instructions, I mean, yes, the mind will cannot control, but the service attitude doesn't come. Even like I'm engaging in the primary service, and that is the main service which we are doing, and that is a primary of anything. Like while we are sustaining, we are having this body, whatever material things we are having because of the service of the Lord and because of the grace of the Lord. But while doing this primary service, we are not giving anything, not even 1%. How to do overcome? How to develop that service attitude?
Prabhu, the service attitude, Prabhu, it has to come gradually, and it's not a one-day job, Prabhu. Don't worry, because we have got so many years to come and so many births to come. We don't know. So it according to Krishna sees, how sincere. That's why Maharaj recommended even 4 or 5 mantras. If you can chant with attention, Krishna will be pleased. So we have to try how much we can chant, especially the holy names, with attention, because the whole problem lies with our basic chanting. Chanting is the magic thing. No, that is the foundation. That foundation is weak, and that's why all our other devotion, service, attitude, all this doesn't work. Because if that is there, then Krishna will reciprocate. If Krishna reciprocate, automatically our service attitude, everything goes all right. Because of our problem with our chanting, all this happens. So in inattentive chanting, but don't worry about it. Because our Maharaj says, if you worry about chanting, then you will never chant. So then when you want perfection in chanting, then you cannot chant in this lifetime. So go on chanting. More chanting will eventually lead to perfection. And we may not be able to remember the holy, hear the holy names, but we can remember some pastimes, how to concentrate in the mind. Mano, just one word we have to take, Ramaniya. So how we are to pleasing to others. Just Darshaniya Tamam. Darshaniya Tamam means we be pleasing to gladden the field devotee's heart. So how we have to be pleasing to the living entities. These things we should remember. One word you can take. Mano there, Vistaram. Are we giving the heart to Krishna? Every time we chant, okay, we go to the material planning and then come back. Oh, I have not given place to Krishna. Let me go back again. So like that, we should try. And then eventually, the more we try, endeavor, Krishna sees the endeavor. Krishna doesn't see the result. Krishna says, I actually, Yashoda Mata tried to tie the Lord, but she could not. But Krishna saw the endeavor and finally gave up. And then he said, let me be tied. She agreed. His power potency was not allowing him to allow her to bound at all. Krishna's potency is there. It says, no, you cannot bind it. So all the potencies are there in his body. So he could not. But finally, he saw the endeavor. So Krishna sees the endeavor. Krishna doesn't see the result. Don't worry about the result, that you have to become a perfectionist devotee. I have to become like Prabhupada. It is impossible. Anup means Anup as it is. Manovarma means Manovarma. We have to be as it is and try in our own direction. So everybody is individual, So everybody is different. So Subhava Vishamam Janam. So everybody is different. Everybody is to try in their own way. That's all. Don't worry too much that I have to become perfection in this lifetime. Try whatever you are trying, Krishna is seeing. And then he will accordingly reciprocate. Okay? We should not self-criticize ourselves and become dejected and depressed. And that will kill our life. So that will kill our spiritual life. That should not happen. We should always encourage us. Encouragement should be there. We should always encourage us. So at least we are in the devotion service. Krishna is allowed. Unless Krishna allows, you cannot chant the holy names. It's Krishna doesn't allow, you cannot chant the holy names. I'm telling you. If you offend a pure devotee, if you offend anybody, if you are offenses, you cannot chant the holy. You cannot come to Krishna consciousness. Krishna has allowed you every day. That means he's happy. Krishna allows the devotional service, means he's happy. He is happy with you, definitely. He wants improvement, that's all. Just like in office, they always scope for improvement. So we have to scope for it. We are doing a work job nicely, but you have to improve. That's it. Okay. We need not prove, we have to improve. Our Sridham Chandra Prabhu says, we're not here to prove anything. We have to improve. That's all. Okay. Don't get discouraged. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Anybody else? Or we'll stop here? Actually, this one Mataji has joined from Chennai. She's Jayapataka Swami disciple, Mataji, Uttama Damiti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Pranam, Prabhu. Thank you so much for inviting us. Especially that point that you said about providing a seat for Krishna in our heart when we chant, that is so significant. If we do not do that, how can we expect a seat in Goloka Vrindavana? Very, very true, Prabhu. So that to keep that point in our mind when we chant itself, I think is very, very inspiring. And how many examples you gave us. It's a real, thank you so much, Prabhu. Is it possible to get a YouTube recording of this that we can share with other people?
Yes, yes, I will ask them. Prabhu, Girvedari Prabhu, can you send me
Yes.
the recording? I'll
Yes,
share
sure.
it with Mataji.
No problem. Sure, sure.
Thank you. Thank you
Please.
so much. Hare Krishna. And pranams to all the devotees. Thank you so much.
This Mataji is part of the group and she is coordinating for Selayu Tambaram, and Mataji is very dedicated and devoted. You know, he, her husband and son is also practicing Krishna consciousness in US, and his daughter is in Bangalore. So all our entire family is in Krishna conscious, and Mataji is very dedicated and devoted. And in fact, Mataji gives wonderful lectures in Chennai temple also. Okay, very dedicated and highly devoted Mataji. They are the group they are under the guidance of His Grace Jivan Gaurari Prabhu for especially South Madras, South Chennai group. So they are managing, and Mataji is doing a lot of services. So wonderful services. So thanks, Mataji. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Please pray for us, Prabhu.